Hello and welcome to Weird Wessex. My name's Andy.
And I'm Craig.
Mime Craig? What? Sorry, do that properly. Hello and welcome to Weird Wessex. My name's Bekhi.
And I'm also Bekhi.
And we're all Bekhi.
Oh, what's the theme tune? I can't remember. That was Bluey.
Yeah, I was.
You're obsessed.
Oh,
That's like the member grapes, isn't it? Like, that's the new member grapes.
memories.
This can all go on the Patreon.
Yeah, that's it.
Hello, Kaylee.
This is what you're paying £3.50 for.
I don't
Quality
properly this
content.
time.
And a 1 and a 2.
Hello and welcome to Weird Wessex. My name is Craig.
And I'm Andy.
And I'm Bekhi.
Yes, you are. Yeah, Becky's joined us today at the Ancient Technology Centre. All together, one of the 3 or 4 times a year I'm allowed to see Craig in person. Craig,
Yeah.
have you got the wrong
looking at my hairy ballsack?
No, I mean, yes, it's magnificent, but have you got the wrong podcast? Why the fuck are you carrying cheese?
I've just come from Will I Like It.
Oh, is that why you're still clutching your cheese?
Funny story
Yeah.
on that when I went, welcome to wrong podcast.
Did you? I hope that's staying in.
It may well do. Yes, I have some cheese today because you told me we were talking about dreams.
Do you dream of cheese?
Cheese is a kind of meat.
Yes.
Cheese is addictive like a drug, apparently, chemically speaking. Fun
No,
fact.
I brought cheese
That's why everyone
because
loves it.
cheese dreams.
Oh, yeah.
Apparently it gives you bad dreams.
I've...
So
Has
that's
that
the
not
reason.
been disproven?
Oh,
Or like kind
I
of...
won't do my bit, Becky. It's fine.
Let him do his bit.
No, science!
So,
So,
open up my... I just realised what's on the front of my laptop too. Oh, this is a shit.
Yeah, as soon as I say stay weird, as soon as I said stay weird on the first episode we did that on, he was saying, sort of, oh, don't do a gimmick. It's Mr. Will I Like It. Carry on, give us your cheesy
No,
facts.
so there isn't a definitive answer, but there was a 2005 study by the British Cheese Board.
suspicious.
I hope the pun was intended.
Suspicious.
They don't
The
exist
British
anymore.
Cheese Board. That's fantastic. Is it a big, yeah.
200 volunteers participated in a week-long study with 72% said they slept well every night, 67% remembered their dreams, and none recorded experiencing nightmares after eating a 20-gram piece of cheese half an hour before going to sleep.
That seems like very suspicious data to come out of the cheese board.
Oh, it gets better. 85% of females who ate Stilton had some of the most unusual dreams of the whole study. 65% of people eating cheddar dreamt about celebrities. 65% of participants eating Red Leicester revisited their school days, and all female participants who ate British brie had nice relaxing dreams, whereas male participants had cryptic dreams. 2/3 of all those who ate Lancashire, had a dream about work, and over half of Cheshire eaters had a dreamless sleep. So they've gone down the specifics here.
That's
How
interesting.
many people were part of the study? Because percentages, it could just be 10 people total.
It's just 3 people they're just stuffing cheese
It's
into.
ultimately what they do in surveys. You can have like 80 people, like 80%, and it's like 3 people.
Yeah,
filling
but I did start the thing with 200 volunteers participated.
Clearly, I didn't listen, did I?
Taste of what's to come.
Yeah, so they reckon the culprit is just late night eating in general.
I could see that. I know, yeah, sort of when you're digesting things, sort of
Particularly
that.
fatty
Yeah,
food, they're
yeah.
saying. Yeah.
I mean, I have had weird cheese dreams, but I don't know whether that was either A, late night eating, or B, I've eaten cheese other late nights and just no one's,
That's
I
allowed.
don't know. Oh, yeah, I was going to say, it wasn't just a prop, we are going to eat some cheese.
Well, I am.
It's not plastic
Fair
cheese.
enough.
Not
It's
bring
real
it around.
cheese.
No, I don't want bad dreams. Or dreams of celebrities, or...
Yeah. That's my whole bit. So
Didn't mention goat's cheese. Maybe we're actually doing the research now. What dreams do goat cheese give you?
I feel like there should be a control. Like, some of us like, should I not have?
Are we going to give
cheese?
you a placebo?
No.
Goat's cheese.
Should I not have cheese? One of you has goats, and the other has the other one.
I just
and
want
see
some
what type of-
cheese.
Sorry.
It is, as time of recording this, 10 to 10. So this counts
late.
as...
Normally in bed. I don't have much to do with the chili jam, so we're just going to eat it.
I want the smallest. Do
This
you want me to
this
catch it?
might
I
like-
feel like this is not going to work.
There you go.
Okay.
Yeah.
Got it? You got it?
There you go.
Cool, thank you.
So if this kind of thing of watching people eat cheese is your thing, then tune into Will I Like It? Sponsored by coffee.
It is. He's got
No,
a coffee...
I was trying to help them with
Yeah, so good cheese.
really nice.
We need some crackers, I think.
Yeah, I meant to bring some crackers today.
Oh, I'm trying to help and I'm not.
Dropping the cheese.
Oh my goodness. Right, okay.
It's down
Don't
there.
bring cheese to a podcast.
Oh, thank you.
Have some chili jam.
I just
Did you
don't.
make this? Did you make the jam?
The jam, not the cheese.
Oh, no, I get that would be really impressive.
So if we have really freaky dreams, it might be down to Craig's homemade
Maybe.
chili jam.
I eat it all the time. My dreams are never weird. Oh, actually, we might get to that later.
That's good.
Really good jam.
I actually got a nice little kick to it as well.
Oh,
Like
nice.
just a tiny...
Wait a bit for the goats, I think.
Mm.
Savour the flavour.
Oh, that's good stuff.
Mm.
What one was that?
That's applewood smoked
Applewood smoked.
cheddar.
Do you make much of your own cheese on... I know you have made cheese, but like... You
Usually
go for
soft
different-
cheese. I have done hard cheese. I'm just seeing which one it said about cheddar.
Does making it like change?
Was that
the-
celebrities? I think cheddar was celebrities.
Yeah, 65% of people eating cheddar dreamt about celebrities. So if you're dreaming about celebrities tonight,
Do you feel like if
like
you have it?
myself,
Do you think if you
Always.
like, have it smoked or like with fruit, you know how some cheese is like infused with other stuff? Do you think that would affect like the type of dream that you have?
yes.
Yeah, I
need-
reckon so.
We need another study.
More cheese.
Subcategories of the same cheeses.
So,
It's a hard life, but we're going to all eat cheese in the name of science, right?
Yeah, well, this
Exactly.
is definitely science.
So, yeah, I mean, you've ever since growing up, I remember hearing, "Don't eat cheese before you go to bed." Don't, you know, it'll. I think they were just trying to crush my cheese habit, but
I never ate cheese as a kid. I hated it.
really,
I had to grow into liking cheese, which was upsetting because my family had a very, very nice family-run cheese business, and now we don't have it anymore because it's moved out of the family. And I'm like, I wasted so many opportunities to have really delicious cheese for free. And now I'm like, cheese is so expensive. It's very upsetting.
Can we do like a record scratch over this episode is about dreams, and just go, this episode is about cheese.
yes, most of this episode is about
This episode
cheese.
of Bluey is cheese.
I mean, there's plenty of just for future reference. There is a lot of cheese folklore out there as well. Like just a little weird shit like going like the cheese rolling
The
down the hill.
Moonmakers,
Yes,
which is my neck of the woods.
yeah, actually, and you've got the cheese rolling down the hill and everything.
So next episode is about cheese.
Excellent, fantastic.
Although
We're
these
actually
aren't
gonna talk about
recorded in
dreams.
order, so it won't be. But
Yeah, it might
we
be
will
3 episodes ago. It might be in
Last
10
week.
months' time. It could be last
You've
week.
probably already seen it.
And Becky's going to write that one because her family used to be in the cheese business.
Cheese the expert,
I wasn't part of it though.
or is it?
I was never
Cheese the
initiated.
expert.
Hey,
I was never
Oh,
initiated.
God, I think I need sleep.
and dream of celebrities. So yeah, I mean, a lot of the dream folklore, I find it falls into sort of a few little categories. One of the big ones is premonitions.
Okay.
Um,
So again, we're not going to talk about dreams. We're going to talk about premonitions.
but it also there's also people receiving like visions and guidance from there, isn't there?
Is there?
Yes, absolutely. But yeah,
It's your
I mean,
notes.
what's that?
It's your notes.
Yeah,
I don't know what's coming.
First of all, I wanted to mention a few like dream folklore figures as well, because you think of like folklores to do with sleep and dreams and things like that. You got big one that comes up, Sandman, right?
Brilliant series. Neil
I've-
Gaiman.
Never actually watched it. I've read some of the comics.
I've read all the comics, watched the series. I've listened to the Audible.
Oh, it's a proper
The Audible
fanboy.
is excellent.
I'll give that a go. Does Neil go and read it himself, or is it
I think
something?
he narrates some of it.
Yeah.
It's been a while.
So that was a Hans Christensen sort of story, wasn't it? I think the original sort of Sandman pops up in the 1800s. Yeah.
Was it like a traditional fairy tale?
Yeah, it was in that sort of group of sort of
Because
Germanic fairy tales.
I
that
got
sort of
raised.
pops up and
I got raised like being told those fairy tales, and I never got told that.
it was from a lesser sort of
Okay.
it wasn't one of the
Yeah,
big
yeah,
ones,
yeah.
but it was, I forget the name of it. But the original Sandman, I believe, used to go and take children's eyes that wouldn't sleep. And I think he'd feed them to something up in his castle on the moon or something. It was some proper dark stuff, actually, which you
don't
kind
know
of
that
expect from those, yeah. And then you had Morpheus, not offering you different coloured pills. I don't know if your
other
drug dealer or the guy from the Matrix. He was the Greek god of dreams, I think.
Yeah.
But he had a brother whose name escapes me now, but I'm just recalling this one. But he was just responsible. There was a dream world that was close to the fields of Elysium in Greek folklore. And I know he had something to do with that. Not too much in terms of controlling dreams as much as appearing in them. Apparently he could disguise himself like anyone and appear in a dream to give someone a message or guide someone. And his brother was the one that did the same but with nightmares. And then you had a character called Mora, who was, or some of it's Mera, which they think nightmare comes from, which was a Germanic and Slavic spirit that apparently would visit you, and some of it was a bit like that hag-ridden sort of thing we did a short on, and they would sort of straddle your chest and push down on you. But in Croatian mythology, Mara would actually go into your dream as a beautiful woman. It would only happen to young men, and she'd infiltrate your dream as a beautiful woman and torment you and torture you and eventually kill you in your sleep. So yeah, there's people have been thinking about this stuff for quite a while, you know.
Yeah, I mean, we know more about dreams now than ever before, I think, and the way our brains work and that kind of thing. But historically, when you think about it, like the idea of dreaming, it must have seemed quite mystical. And
Yeah, I mean, you still do get people paid to sort of decipher them and stuff like that, but it must have been like a very much, you'd want some of these dreams, especially if you'd been at the cheese late at night or whatever, you'd want to go and see someone and be like, what does this mean? Sort of what is this trying to tell me? And I mean, I know obviously you had the dreams with Joan of Arc, and I don't know if you want to talk about that later or not, but
no.
Fair enough. All right. Yeah, I'll talk about. I didn't want to ruin anything.
That's for the
Anything on
Patreon.
Joan of Arc.
So yeah, I know some of Joan of Arc's sort of visions came through dreams, apparently, where sort of she found her calling to go and like lead the resistance against the English. But yeah, you've got this sort of whole other world back then, I think, where you're. Some people did believe you were literally going to another realm. You were literally in a different land. I know there was a Chinese, I think it was a Chinese figure, I forget the name, it was a dragon that would actually visit people and eat their nightmares. It fed on nightmares. And while a dragon that eats nightmares sounds pretty badass, and also maybe some kind of terrifying villain, it was a good guy, it was a good thing. It came and ate nightmares before they bothered you, which I thought was quite a cool thing as well.
It's interesting in terms of like sort of the sciencey side of it, because it's like the dream state before you're dreaming but not is similar to like the deep meditation state, and it's like you're aware but you're also not aware at the same time.
Yeah.
And I think maybe that's where, like, if you're gonna be like really atheistic about it, be like no science really heavy, that's probably like your brain's like processing and doing stuff, and maybe that's where the overlap is.
Yeah, I mean, I've had a lot of I'll be upfront now. I get like quite apocalyptic dreams sometimes. Like, I go heavy on the apocalyptic.
Premonitions?
That's what I worried. I'm going to talk about that
I
later.
I was going to say, because you said I'm going to talk about premonitions, but you've been talking about like the Sandman and dragons and...
Yeah, I mean, I kind of wanted to give an overall, because it is such a deep sort of kind of topic. But maybe premonitions, and I'm going to go into that tying to what I said about apocalyptic stuff. But
How long are we recording for?
yeah, I mean, have you got anything for us you want to go into, or shall I crack on?
You've already mentioned your premonitions, so I think we'll follow that track. I've got some other stuff, but
I have an interesting. I just remembered an almost anti-premonition.
An anti-premonition.
Like your auntie.
Isn't that like just a dream?
So regressions.
Oh,
Regression.
So like past life regressions through dreams, and then people finding out.
I thought you were saying you had an auntie
No.
called.
And not no. I'm foreign, but you know that's not.
Anti-premonition.
Yeah, I'm actually related to the Greek gods. Like I.
I don't know. Do we want that, or do we want to keep that for another one? That sounds like it could be a whole other subject.
we can
You know?
we can do the cliff notes.
Go for it.
No, it's pretty much the only point I can bring. Do you want to do your premonition thing, and I can do the anti?
No. If you want to go into past
Stop fighting.
No.
Just go for it.
hey,
Horrifying. No, this didn't happen to me. It happened to people I know of when they were children, and I've had it like in other situations, and it's like they'll dream about their past lives, and it won't necessarily, you get people be like, oh, I was Cleopatra, I was this, I was that, and then a lot of things it's hard to prove, but some people in general will be like, oh, I was a child, I was in this factory, I was in this village, I was doing this, I was doing that, and they've actually found evidence that person existed, and like it tends to be, sometimes it tends to be kids, I think, or like, and you can get it.
I have heard of that, yeah.
And that's crazy because obviously it's only a few that they can prove, and obviously it's like proving to the degree, but that's really interesting. How could like someone unrelated in a different country know about that sort of thing?
There was a case in India of that happening recently, but Mr. Barlin did it the other day, so I don't want to do it right now.
Don't listen to him, so I wouldn't know.
Fair enough.
No offense, Mr. Barlin, if you're watching.
So there's
He did a bad job of doing the exorcism of Michael Taylor, so I gave up listening to him.
Oh, shots
shame.
fired.
Oh my god.
There is a good version of that floating around somewhere. There is
Floating around somewhere.
And so the feud begins.
I just thought there were a lot of missing details, as we'd only just covered it when I listened to it, and I was like, wait a minute. He covered the whole thing in like 10 minutes.
Maybe he left the bulk of it for his Patreon.
Maybe.
Maybe we did.
Yeah, it's true.
Maybe.
I don't like this goat's cheese.
No?
No? Is it not nice?
Kind of tastes soapy.
Are you eating the rind? Because I feel like you're not supposed to do that.
Ah, it's just advice,
Maybe.
isn't it?
I don't know. Crazy thought.
I reckon it tastes soapy.
Okay, I might have half of it then if it's not nice. Oh god, it's all squishy.
You're all squishy.
I don't know.
Oh, it's just goat's cheese.
I like goat's cheese, but this tastes kind of soapy.
It's just quite strong.
It's very goaty.
Yeah.
I always think anything from a goat tastes like it smells. I mean,
It does. It really does.
That's always we had a billy goat. We had a billy goat at my old job, and when it got near you, it smelled like goat's cheese, and it's just there is something very disturbing about
It's
that.
not like a bad smell, but it's very goat.
No, I think I like goat products generally. Sorry, I'm on the wrong podcast again.
Craig is going to be dreaming of goats. Or premonitions of
The
goats.
rind's
I don't know.
quite... Maybe you had a bite of the rind because that's really strong. We're not analysing cheese profiles now, but
So I think this one is. So when we were going to do this, we sort of talked about doing a dream related one, which obviously it is. But a lot of what I was looking into, and I know some of the stuff Craig looked into, it does go really leans into premonitions. So it's all right. No one noticed.
that's the sound equivalent of a smoke machine, isn't it? Like,
So go on.
No, I was just going to say the things we've looked into. I haven't looked into much this week. I've been kind of distracted. So I've done some notes, but my dog died the other day. So the rest of the notes are still on the internet, probably.
On the internet somewhere, yeah.
they exist.
Pre-notes,
Google.
deconstructed notes.
Google.
So, looking into the premonition side of things, one of my favourites was Edith Pretty, who was the lady that discovered the gravesite at, well, she knew these mounds were there at Sutton Hoo.
Oh, it's that story. I didn't know the name, see. So
Yeah.
I was like, where's this going?
Her and her husband bought this land with these grave mounds on, and they weren't quite sure when they were from, but she started having a dream, I believe, after he died, of this funeral procession with these Saxon warriors walking through carrying a king and burying him in a ship, and she
That's got to be a Red Leicester that does that.
Exactly right.
And too much Lord of the Rings.
Hadn't actually been written at that point.
Oh, really?
No, this was around World War II, just after. So The Hobbit maybe. But anyway, she was she had this dream, and she actually ended up hiring an archaeologist because no one had really kind of hear her out. There's a good Netflix sort of dramatisation of it, I think. And yeah, lo and behold, they dug this mound. She did actually employ a dowsing friend of hers. I think it might have even been a relative who did some dowsing, and they said mound 1. That's where you want to look. And they dug there, and yeah, they found a Saxon burial, which turned out to be the Sutton Hoo burial, probably King Radwold. Really,
Possibly.
Yeah, possibly, probably.
I
I like to think it is.
Like, could you never prove it through like carbon dating?
You
and stuff?
can't. I mean, there's no actual bones there. I don't think
Oh,
anymore.
okay.
Is there? It's all gone. But there was a wealth of other stuff there. But yeah, so and that was kind of fed from her dream, and that was sort of one of the famous ones here. Another one that I've always been interested in is Abraham Lincoln. He apparently 2 weeks before his death dreamt of walking through the White House, and it was all quiet. There was no one else there. It was just him, and he came across his own body lying in state in the East Room of the White House, and 2 weeks later he was shot, and that is where his body was lying in state.
It kind of triggered something in my brain there. I seem to remember my mum saying something once about dreams and someone, whether it was someone in the family, but it's when they'd had a dream, and in the dream there was loads of the family members there, but they were all people that had already passed, and the person then died shortly after.
I have an interesting one as well. I have a friend, and her and a couple other people that she knows, I think family members or whatever, when they have, not always, but like sometimes when they'll have a dream about someone, and apparently it feels specific, that person will then die, and it's happened with like quite a few people now, like 4 or 5
That's
people.
kind of horrifying, actually.
And actually, like, they told me, they're like, oh, like, I think X is gonna die now because I've had one of those dreams, and then they did, and like they've told me a couple times, and then it happened.
You need to get rid of that friend.
Yeah.
And well, no, sometimes they text me, they're like, I've had a dream about you. I'm like, okay. And like, no, it's okay. And I'm like, okay.
Oh dear.
Save for another day.
Hear it, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I've got a couple of my own stories real quick that I want to tell before the meat of this, which I always do. I've got to think. I live a weird life.
Involve an ex.
It doesn't involve an ex, actually.
It's me.
I don't. Oh, are you my ex?
I don't know.
Public dumping.
No, I meant it's me, but like, I said, are you gonna be like, ooh, I got a premonition, you're gonna get dumped? Because I'd be pissed, but I also respect that.
Convoluted way of doing it, but yeah, why not?
Wow, first dumping on the show.
But not the
One of
last.
many.
Hang on, who's dumping who? I've missed some.
We're not even sure. We'll hold off until
We'll
we
stay
work it
together
out.
till we figure it out.
So my dad, when I mentioned reading into this stuff, my dad, now strictly speaking, it wasn't a dream. Although
You're not allowed to talk about your dad on this show.
Oh yeah, good point. He's
Been
been
the show. Sorry, Mark. Writing offensive
I
comments
love you,
on our
Mark. It's
YouTube.
okay.
so a certain family member
Was it your dad?
yeah
Might have been.
was in the kitchen as a kid, and his mum, my grandmother, and her sister, I think, were talking about another family member who fell over, and Dad was like, yeah, she fell over outside and broke her leg. And so, well, how do you know that? You mentioned it, you've already told me yesterday. So no, it happened this morning. It's like, no, you said it yesterday. You were standing there and you said she went to grab something, she fell over, and apparently you completely described it. And it had happened that morning, and he swears blind he knew it from the day before. And I think the only answer was his aunt said, tell us the bloody pool numbers next. But that was it, you know.
UK reference.
Your dad's had a couple things like that happen, right?
I mean, I'll save them for other episodes that relate more to those.
But there's like a
experiences,
pattern.
He's got to spread out the anecdote, so he's always got one.
Exactly. I need an anecdote for every episode. Thank you very much. But
Papa Stevens.
That's it. My one was actually a bit darker. And it might be because I said I'd get apocalyptic dreams. It sucks. It's been everything from War of the Worlds-esque alien invasions, zombie outbreaks. Mostly it's nuclear war.
Do we need to warn people that you're predicting the future now? Is that?
I bloody hope not. Because
this is something that has happened to me, and was. I was in this dream. I was walking over this field in Hertford, near where my parents live, and I looked up, hearing a noise, and a low plane was coming over, and then it just exploded. And a week later, the Malaysian Airlines flight in Ukraine was blown out of the sky. Could have just been like a drug.
That's not in Hertford, mate.
It's not. But you know, it's Eastern Hertford.
The links to that are a little bit tenuous.
Yeah.
Thank you.
No, I don't mean it in a bad way. I just.
But no, as I said, it depends, because this will fit in more when I read my bit. But it's.
Is this not your bit?
This is part of my bit. This is part of my bit.
The prologue to the bit.
God.
Come on, wrap it up.
Don't need you to. Do it myself.
Becky, do you want to host a podcast?
Would love to.
So, but anyway, that freaked me out a little
I've actually paid to be
bit.
trained in podcasting, and I don't use it, so might as well put it to work.
More qualified than Andy. Or me, to be fair.
I was going to say. No, it is a tenuous link, though. You're right. It is a tenuous link, and I am nervous of flying.
Because I'm going to quote what you say.
They told me.
Get
it off
what
me.
you say. Planes crash all the time.
Yeah, well, I mean, they don't. That's the point, you know. That's what. Don't say they crash all the time. I told you I'm a nervous flyer. But, you know, my point is that might be where my fear comes from, might be where that dream came from. Maybe. But it just... I remember waking up and thinking, oh, shit, I hope that doesn't mean something. Not that I technically believe they do, but then
it's not
a
like
week
you could have
later...
stopped it.
Well, no, exactly.
Exactly. It was out of your control.
Why didn't you do anything, Andy?
Well, funny you should say that, because...
Called the world police and said...
So, in October in 1966, two children had some really bad dreams. This was in a Welsh mining town. Now, one of them, who went by the name of Errol May Jones, who was 10, woke up and told her mum, "Mum, I'm not afraid to die." And her mum sort of was understandably a bit freaked out by this, but, you know, just passed it off as a kid being weird, you know. They do it sometimes. And this then sort of cropped up again 2 weeks later. She woke up and asked her mum to listen to the dream that she had the night before. And her mum was a busy woman, and she said, "You know, can you tell me later?" And she said, "No, Mum, you must listen now." I quote, "No, Mummy, you must listen. I dreamt I went to school and there was no school there. Something black had come down all over it." So across town, another young man, a kid called Paul Davis, who was 8 years old, the same night or the same morning, had woken up and drawn a picture of his dream. And it was a hill with loads of people digging into the hill, and underneath were two words: "The End." Hours later, and hundreds of miles away in London, a woman, a teacher by the name of Kathleen Middleton, woke up at about 4 a.m. with a crushing pain in her chest, felt like she was being squeezed. She was finding it hard to breathe, she was panicked. Eventually she calmed herself down and went back to sleep. She actually said later that when she woke up in the morning, she had a cup of tea, which she never does in the morning. She couldn't handle tea in the morning, she just needed something to steady her nerves.
Yeah.
She said something wasn't right. So, about an hour after she had her cup of tea, at 9 a.m. on a hill above this mining village, 150,000 tonnes of silage just slipped down in a massive wave and went crashing towards the village. The village was called Aberfan, and it met the first structure it met going down was the school, and it just completely enveloped the school. It went on into the town. 144 people died, 116 of them were children, and yeah, they lost their lives, and including that were the two children, Erin and Paul, who had the dreams. So,
I think we should have had a trigger warning before you started that.
I think that's probably going to go at the beginning of the episode.
Maybe just put flashing
Trigger.
trigger warning here. Trigger warning. Like related trigger warning.
So the next day, a man by the name of John Baker made his way to Aberfan. Now, he was a psychiatrist who was researching a book called Scared to Death. Now, his idea was that people hearing premonitions of their own death, which kind of what you're talking about, your friend.
Not of her.
Yeah, no,
own
I know,
death, of
yeah.
other
Yeah,
people's.
no, that's what I'm talking about. Like, people that hear it from other people
Oh, okay. I
might
see.
be more inclined to then die because they're almost shocked into it, you know. He said it might lower their immune system. He had different ideas. Now, he'd heard of
I don't think sometimes people that think that's a pattern, I don't know if they would tell that person. They might keep it to themselves.
potentially, yeah.
Potentially. I feel like that's the right thing to do, but would they do it? Maybe not.
So he made his way to Aberfan because he'd heard of a survivor who later died of shock, and he thought that might tie in somehow to his research. But when he got to the village, he heard of these two dreams, and he'd heard of other people in the village apparently having premonitions or uncomfortable feelings the night before it happened. So much so that he went back and started writing about that instead. And he put together this theory that he had. And he was a bit, I'm just going to put it out there now, he was a bit of an out there psychiatrist, right? Obviously. Not only was he looking into this, he was a big proponent of reform in psychiatric hospitals. He wanted them to be nicer places. But on the other hand, he was also a big fan of aversion therapy, which we'd call shock therapy. And he was wanting to shock people to stop them having affairs and stop them being addicted to things, but also to stop them being gay or transgendered. So not the nicest guy.
Wow.
He'd be cancelled, is
Yeah,
what you're trying to
yeah,
say.
basically, and rightly so for that.
So why are we talking about him?
Because
That's who Andy's featuring the story on.
so anyway, your listener
your
will
idol?
get there. Jesus Christ.
Are we bullying you now?
Why did I agree to get? Why am I sitting in the middle?
I disagree, but to be fair.
So once he'd heard about this, and he put together this theory of what he called pre-disaster syndrome. Now, he put it out there that certain people were sensitive to disasters before they happened. He likened it to twins that could feel each other's pain even though if they were different places, which is a phenomenon which may or may not exist. But he was convinced of this, and he also likened it to feeling small seismic shocks before the earthquake. So he ended up getting an article in the Evening Standard where he asked anyone who had premonitions about that disaster, the Aberfan disaster, to come forward, and he got hundreds of messages. Now,
It's kind of difficult though, because that's after the fact.
he acknowledged that. It was like putting the feelers out there. But I agree completely. The forefront of these was Kathleen Middleton. So, after he suggested his idea, he got really disturbed at the thought that they might be missing a trick. You might be missing a means to avert disasters. But he also realised that you would have to test these things by seeing if people were right and disasters happened, and then working out who was right most regularly, and then maybe listening to their premonitions. So he managed to get some funding, he managed to get some support, and his friends at the Evening Standard supported him. He set up what was to be known as the It was the British Premonitions Bureau. It was a thing. The British Premonitions
The
Bureau.
BPP.
Yes.
Wow.
So
And you poo-pooed the cheese ball.
England is just too brutal.
So yeah, in January 1967, the British Premonitions Bureau was born. So the idea is people would submit their premonitions, and they would be rated after a time as to whether they happen or not. So it was a point system.
So it's basically a proto Reddit.
You got 5 points for unusualness, because if you're like, yep, there's going to be an earthquake in the world in the next 5 years, it's a bit of a shit one, But if you were very specific, or it was something a bit weird, there was 5 points for accuracy. Again, that could only really happen after the event, obviously. and 1 point for timeliness as well. So again, if you say something and in 20 years' time it happens, it's not really any
Wait,
good.
the math isn't mathing. There's like some categories are 5 points.
Yeah. No. You got a point if it was timely.
Okay.
And you got 5 points or out of.
Oh, okay,
you know,
and it had to be
out of
above
five.
It had to be above a threshold. Yeah.
So he got hundreds of reports coming in. The first real hit came, or what he considered a real hit, was several months in. A guy named Alan Hencher. He'd been one of the ones who'd been more convincing of the Aberfan submissions as well. So Hencher said that in his dream he saw an airliner passing over mountains and he had a feeling this is where they shouldn't be. Like there was something like it was not supposed to be there. And apparently it circled round, clipped its wing on the mountain and dived and blew up. And he said, I'm getting 123 or 124 dead. 123 or 124.
I think it's 124.
I know.
Okay.
No, I'm quoting it. Stop spoiling it.
I'm trying to help.
No.
I'll be quiet.
You could do this bit. So Bekhi gets a lot of my notes as well. So she's been inflicted for this twice. So a month later, a Britannia Airlines plane that is on its way to Cairo ends up having to divert because of bad weather, and it goes to Cyprus. And as it's going over these hills in Cyprus, just by Nicosia, I think it is, it tried to land on the runway 3 times, couldn't make the landing, circled around, clipped these hills, not mountains but hills, in the dark, and sort of landed in a field, and 126 people died. But initially it was 124, 2 of them later died in hospital. And yeah, this was considered a hit by John Barker. Kathleen was also still in touch, and this is the one that does convince me a little bit more. And I say a little bit, I'm not, we'll hold our judgment to afterwards, but she was American. She was living in England. She was living in London, but Edmonton, I think. But she was American, and she couldn't get Robert Kennedy, JFK's brother, out of her mind. And she kept dreaming about him. And she said, "I keep getting the term assassination." And in the months that followed, and this happened in March, I think, first, but she kept calling back and saying, "I keep thinking he's in danger." And on the night of the 4th, I think it was of June or July, I haven't got it written here, but it was 3 times near the middle of the night she called the Bureau and left messages. And a few hours afterwards, Robert Kennedy was shot and killed. He was assassinated. Now, later that year, both Hencher and Middleton had one more impending death to report, and this wasn't different people each, it was one death, and it was that of John Barker himself. They hadn't spoke to him as much. He had been touring America with his book. He had been unsuccessful. Apparently he was afraid, he was worn. He was described by someone as close to breaking point. But he was also young and didn't have any health problems. But as soon as he heard them predict his death, apparently he's moved to even further south. Possibly either he thinks they're actually predicting and they're good at it, or he's kind of feeling that topic from his first book and thinking, sort of, oh great, now I'm going to die.
Which isn't that ironic?
Well,
in
yeah.
the grand scheme of things.
So, on the 7th of August in 1968, Mrs. Middleton reported waking up to a choking sensation and calling out for help. But on August the 8th, I think it was at the end of August the 8th, sort of just about a day after Kathleen's episode, John Barker suffered a brain embolism and died.
But he didn't choke to death as he was dying.
No, but, I don't know what it feels like, to be honest.
Yeah, well, yeah.
Shortly after, the Bureau closed down, having received over 700 predictions. 18 of those were recorded as hits by Barker, 12 of which were down to Mr. Hencher and Mrs. Middleton themselves. But yeah, 2 years it lived for, but that was the end of the Bureau of Premonitions. So there you go.
Start it up again, mate.
Maybe that's our calling in life, maybe.
Your calling.
You're like, I'm out.
I'm out.
So yeah, had either of you heard of the British Board of Bureau of
like
Premonitions?
But let me see, like,
What's that?
Sounds like bollocks.
like English history is full of like these bits that are just absolutely batshit weird. Like,
I get the premonitions in the dreams thing. I can kind of get behind some of them being a bit weird, but
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know.
Oh, there was another one. I don't think it's really, as much of a premonition, but Kathleen Middleton also had a dream of a petrified, not as in scared, but as in like dead astronaut. And I think 3 weeks later, a cosmonaut was killed. God. That won't make sense to anyone by now.
Sorry,
see,
do you want
that
to say
one-
it again?
that one I find
Yes.
Oh, you're repeating.
Yeah.
I interrupted with a Big Bird joke that only makes sense to Andy.
So yeah.
Okay, that's why you need to join the Patreon.
Yeah, Patreon.
So yeah, Kathleen Middleton also had a dream about a petrified astronaut. Not scared petrified, but dead petrified. And 3 weeks later, a cosmonaut was killed on impact when they crash landed in one of the Soyuz capsules.
See, that one's harder to quantify because like the other ones, when they have like the amount of people, makes sense. But that at the end of the day, like how many? And I'm just being completely cynical here, but like it's like at some point an astronaut will crash at some point on something.
Yeah, I mean, it was the middle of the space race,
Well, and that's another point as well. Like I was really into like being like, oh my god, my dreams are telling me my future growing up as a kid, and I had like really messed up dreams. I didn't remember them, or I had like really crazy ones. I think it was just hormones now in retrospect, but yeah, and I was like, what does it all mean? I need to find myself, and then I was looking into it, and it's just basically a lot of dreams. I do believe that some are like legit, but like a lot of dreams are like premonitions. No, not premonitions. Sorry, like not what's the word I'm looking for? Not premonitions. Processing.
Processing.
They both start with "pr," and it's kind of like, and if you have like the background or like the point at the back of your head that you think of the space race and you think of all these things, it can.
Yeah.
I think they've done studies, and it's kind of like placebos mixed. Well, maybe not a placebo, but like confirmation biases and that kind of thing. But I think if it's something very specific, that maybe is more reality. But if it's just quite an abstract thing, that like of like X was petrified, then X died, that's harder to quantify.
Yeah, and I mean, as I said, it was the middle of the space race. You had a lot of press
People,
around.
yeah, exactly.
Although I do thinking about that, we should do an episode at some point, or a short at least, on Lost Cosmonauts. I don't know if you know that one. We'll talk about it
They're
later,
really
if not.
scary. Like
Yeah.
thinking about that makes me really like freak out.
Yeah, maybe.
There's enough to do a whole episode on.
I think if we do a couple of other sort of Cold War-y bits, it'd be quite good.
Just
And a
focus
bit
on
Big
the
Bird.
And a bit on Big Bird. Well, it was during the Cold War, so we'll put Big Bird in
just
there.
focus on the ominosity of big space, and that like is just terrifying to think about.
Yeah. So yeah, out of all those, for me, the only one that I mean, if it's true with the kids, that is pretty.
I've heard the kid story before,
Yeah,
and that is weird.
like I mean, there is something horrid about that one. That was, I mean, obviously the fact they both died is the worst bit,
Yeah.
but the fact that just that chillingness of just the end.
You know what would have been
know,
even more horrible, like for the parents and for everyone, had the kids been like, "Please don't make me go to school."
no, neither of them. I mean, one of them,
Well,
straight
was
up,
like, I'm
one
cool.
of them straight up said was, "I'm, basically,
Which
yeah." I'm cool.
that's also terrifying as a concept.
But again, though, these stories come out after the event happened.
That's the
Yeah,
thing. Yeah.
So
And I mean, there are probably ways of testing the picture or something if the picture's still around, but I don't know.
Yeah, but like also kids' pictures can be really abstract. The picture will like live in my nightmares rent free now. Just the concept of that.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, no, thank you.
But yeah, apart from that, the only one that really got me there as, okay, that is a bit weird, is her calling the amount of time she called. And I'm assuming that there was, he was, by all accounts, apparently trying to make a halfway to scientific go of this idea. That if there's recordings of her calling before Kennedy's assassination,
Yeah.
or is it just her word that she was calling?
well, that's it. It's very hard to find.
But you
it's-
should be able to like they're like there is a record somewhere. It might be private, but actually no. If anything, it should be public record nowadays.
Is it? It doesn't. Well, it should be, but whether it is or not.
No, but I think legally, like statute of limitations is like a thing because recently, like the CIA, they had to.
Well, I mean, this was in England for a start, but it.
Well,
was,
I thought she was calling the US.
No. She was calling the bureau that was in Britain because she was British and she's part of this study.
Oh, I thought she was. Oh, okay.
No,
I thought she was calling the FBI.
No.
Oh, okay. I misunderstood. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, then maybe not. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I think governmental bodies they have to, like, show.
But
data.
if that's true, that's pretty weird.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of the gist of everything we talk about.
Barrel
Though.
to this episode. Just keep scraping it.
Do you think things like this don't happen as much nowadays?
I
Because
mean-
either people bury them, or it's just harder to prove with digital technology, or a mix of both.
I mean, I could have just come in with a creepypasta or something, you know.
And no one would have known the difference.
He's referencing the fact that I read a creepypasta on the recent record. Which, now I'm going to make sure that episode goes out after this one. So you screwed that up, didn't you, Andy?
I work for Cruel Masters.
You told me that, actually. And I was like, no, you know what? The end of the day, that is technically folklore, so, like, go off.
Just making sure we're still actually running. We've only been going for 51 minutes.
Oh, my goodness.
We've only done Andy's bit so far.
Don't worry, I'm just
that
here
is my
sitting
bit.
proceed.
That is my bit. So overall, we're pretty sceptical on that one. I'm thinking.
100% believer.
Yeah.
I
Fantastic.
Really? You're 100% believer?
He wants to believe.
I want to believe.
He's got a tattoo and
I
everything.
thought you were really like, nah, this is
We're
right.
taking a piss.
Oh, I don't know anymore. Too tired to comprehend sarcasm.
Yeah, no, I think most of it could be probably explained as people coming forward after the event.
I think most of it is that, like anything with the paranormal, but I think, or like whatever, but a really, really small proportion, I think is probably, I just think it happens, like the legit ones happen a lot less, like too infrequently to be able to actively monitor, and because there's so many people that they're not even lying necessarily, but they think that they have it, that kind of clouds a lot of the judgment and a lot of the...
Yeah. Well, it's like people like Nostradamus and people like that. Like you can take
Experimenter.
the Asparamancer. You can take so much of that. It's so vague.
There is not an apology, but an explanation that like is like, oh no, this is why it's not working. It's because like Nostradamus lived so long ago that the planetary alignments, because I think his was like based on like planets and astrology and stuff, have moved. So those predictions cannot apply anymore because like it doesn't align with like the stuff.
Or he was making it up.
Or he's got that going for him.
So yeah, I'm fairly skeptical. I just found it fascinating that there was actually a bureau dedicated to the study of this.
How fun would it be to work for them though? How
there-
fun would it be?
There's so Mickey. It's like a bad sci-fi channel series.
It
You know.
might actually just be like lots of just bureaucracy, knowing the English people from the 60s.
Okay, here's what I'm going to do. I should have done it before the episode, like you with Hinge Glyphac, but there is a book detailing this. I'm going to get the book and I'm going to see if there
We do
is
our
actually...
research after the episode, folks.
I did research. I just didn't buy the book.
Almost kind of what?
Oh no!
Oh no!
Someone set off the.
Shut up.
Almost copying the bureau in their practices. Well, like they were
That's
reporting after the fact.
Well, I'll as I said, I did a bit of research on it, but I wasn't wanting to buy the whole book.
You haven't done like premonitions because there's other premonitions like for the Twin Towers and.
Yeah, you know more about those ones, I think.
That one I don't think was from dreams. I think the guy got off the tube to go to work, but this was in the 90s. Is it 93? The first bombing before.
Yes.
So-
I know the one.
I know that for specifically the 2001 Twin Towers.
No, we're talking about 1993.
Oh, that was before my time.
So in that one, I believe he got off of the subway, and he just had a feeling that something was going to happen, so he didn't go to work. Bombs went off, and then it happened in a similar fashion before 9/11. That
To the same guy.
Same guy, yeah.
Wow.
I know for 9/11, but again, it could just be people after the fact. A lot of people had premonitions and then go to work or something made them late, and then they were really thankful. And some people pushed through
You know, one of them
and
was.
went through.
That's,
One of them was Jared Way.
oh really?
Yeah, he missed his train.
He's that bloke that writes comics, isn't he?
Yeah, the Umbrella Academy guy. and nothing else.
Never heard of him.
It's fine.
Yeah.
It's after your time. Don't worry about it.
Wow. Wow.
Don't worry about it. It's a TikTok.
He's only a few years older than me.
I know. I'm kidding. I know. I mean it too.
So, also Seth MacFarlane.
Yes. That's why I'm saying it was quite publicised.
But that was because he was hungover.
No, but like quite. I've heard 9/11 quite like famous people and not famous people. Like that's like seems to be a thing.
Yeah.
Do you think Big Bird had a dream?
Oh no, you're gonna have to explain the Big Bird thing now.
I've already in my mind edited out of the first bit. I also waited for a pause, so this is being edited out too.
Okay, yeah.
I'm just amusing myself. Yes.
Is it amusing your inner child? That's the important thing.
Yeah. Don't have anything else.
But the trouble is, then they cheated death, and it went on Final Destination, and like the Sesame Street characters were all like getting like things, pianos dropping on them and stuff like that. You know,
Horrifying.
I'm leaving that bit in.
Excellent.
Won't make any
No
sense.
context. No context.
Just have Andy say really ominous, like crazy thing.
The predictions of Andy Stevens.
And that was in another dream you had, was it?
Yeah, it's quite troublesome, really. It's straight jacket for me.
But yeah, if you're looking at premonitions, you missed the Harriet Tubman stuff as well.
Harriet Tubman, yeah, it's that was God-given, wasn't it?
So she says, yeah, but difficult story really to tell because it probably needs a whole episode of its own. But it's not really it's not the sort of thing we cover. But I did make some notes on it, so I'm going to go for you a very brief overview of Harriet Tubman.
Go on.
Because, as I say, there was the dream stuff. So she was nicknamed Moses. She was an American abolitionist and social activist who was born into slavery in Dorchester County, Maryland, where as a child she was beaten and whipped by enslavers. On one occasion she suffered a traumatic head wound as a result of an overseer throwing a heavy metal weight which was intended to hit another slave but hit her instead. The injury caused dizziness, pain and spells of hypersomnia, which occurred throughout her life. And after the injury, she began experiencing strange visions and vivid dreams, which she ascribed to premonitions from God.
There's an interesting, well, I say interesting, but it's a bit, like sort of idea that some people say that like the idea, the reason that like people with kind of like that issue, it's almost like the veil between like dimensions like gets like stripped away, which is why they can see visions, why people with like some mental health illnesses can see like the same type of things. I don't know how true that is, and I think it's really hard to disprove, but like
yeah. So on one occasion her master tried to sell her, and she stayed up all night and prayed to God, but when it looked as if the sale would go through, she prayed, and I quote, "Oh Lord, if you ain't never gonna change that man's heart, kill him, Lord, and take him out of the way." A week later he was dead, which she did she did apparently regret later saying that, and take it back. But to cut a long story short, Tubman escaped making use of the network known as the Underground Railroad, an informal system was composed of free and enslaved black people, white abolitionists and other activists. The visions from her childhood head injury continued, and she saw them as divine premonitions. She spoke of consulting with God and trusted that he would keep her safe. After escape, she worked hard and saved money to eventually go back and free her family members, as well as others, totaling 300 enslaved people.
It's amazing.
Yeah. So it's not got that much to do with dreams, but it was one I came across.
Yeah.
And it's a...
because she didn't get the premonition through dreams, right? She just got them. Like the God's voice, like it wasn't in her dreams. Or it was specific.
She had dreams as well, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, but it was mixed. It was like just random, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
The Two Towers one's interesting as well. Just going back to that briefly because
The Lord of the Rings, yeah.
the Twin Towers. See where my head's usually at. But
Yeah.
I know you were saying it was your ex. See, it's not always my ex stories, these ones. Was
Now
like
you're telling someone else's ex
What?
story.
What story?
Reese telling you like not to go out, wasn't it, or something like that?
Oh yeah, I was when the Twin Towers happened. Yeah, I don't remember.
You were living
like,
in Dorset, so I didn't think that would be the issue.
I blocked it all out. No, either he told me not to leave, or I told him not. I think he told me not to leave the house. Yeah, one time we were chilling, and he was like, "Wait, wait 10 minutes and then go. He was like, don't leave now.
I think we should change the name of the episode to Premonitions.
I think so, yeah.
One of us did. I think it was him, which that's why I found it so weird. Or maybe it'd been me, but I think it was him, which I don't remember, because he was very atheistic. That's not the word, but whatever. So I was like, oh my god, goddamn. But to be honest, if someone tells me no, don't leave right now, I'd be like, all right, okay, whatever you say. I am not risking it. Like, there is quite enjoy being alive, you know?
Maybe it should be Premonitions, Dreams and Near Misses. and Big Bird.
Big Bird.
I do have some other stuff that's not premonitions that is connected with dreams, if you like.
Yes,
kind of
please.
have premonitions without dreams as well, but I think that might be too
We're confusing things now.
convoluted.
Needs to be dream correlated with
You
it.
said you hadn't written anything for this.
No, but it's all coming out.
Yeah, so I was looking into things, inventions, stories, that kind of thing that came from people's dreams. Some of them I'm just going to mention just because there's not much to say other than they said it came from a dream. But one of my favourite was the invention of the sewing machine, which was, so there is ascribed to several different people, but one guy in particular, Elias Howe, was struggling with the idea of how the machine would work, and one night in a dream he was being chased and attacked by cannibals with spears that had holes in the tips.
Oh my god.
And when he awoke, he realised that the needle in his invention must need a hole in the tip for it.
Oh my god.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Be interesting to see how many inventions, like machine related stuff comes from a nightmare of like being chased or something.
Yeah, I have a few other bits, but so like Frankenstein was supposed to come from more of she was falling asleep, I think, is the thing.
And had probably
like the
imbibed a
interim.
fair bit of opium as well.
So it was in 1818, on a dark and stormy night in Geneva, Switzerland, Mary, who was staying at a villa with her future husband, Percy Bysshe Shelley, and Lord Byron, and Byron suggested that each of them write a ghost story. But Mary was the only one who actually completed it. When they retired to bed, she recalls having a waking dream, and then she's quoted as saying, "When I placed my head upon my pillow, I did not sleep, nor could I be said to think. My imagination unbidden possessed and guided me, gifting the successive images that arose in my mind with a vividness far beyond the usual bounds of reverie. I saw the pale student of unhallowed arts kneeling beside the thing he had put together. I saw the hideous phantasm of a man stretched out, and then on the working of some powerful engine shows signs of life and stirs with an uneasy, half-vital motion. Frightful must it be, for supremely frightful would be the effect of any human endeavour to mock the stupendous creator of the world."
I like that. That's she.
That's Goff.
Yeah,
That's Mama Goff
Pete
right
Goff.
there.
She you could kind of say she kind of invented the site that it was like the first kind of sci-fi book in some ways. You know, it was. You know, a lot of people do consider it as a sci-fi.
I think they either call her the mother of sci-fi or the mother of horror or the god something like that, because it's like there might have been someone before her potentially, but like kind of modern horror, like she kind of invented it.
Yeah.
Like 60 years before it was actually like a thing or something.
I mean, I know she got sort of shunned for it at first. I'm not sure whether it's because it was a woman writing it or whether it was
Everything else.
just the horrid notion of it.
Yeah.
She was plagued by dreams of her. She lost a lot of children, unfortunately, in childbirth or stillborn, or miscarried them. And I know one actually died as an infant, sort of next to her in bed. She sort of woke up and was trying to get them to feed, and then realised they were dead. And she kept dreaming that like she managed to like rub life back into them. And I do wonder if that kind of played in sort of resurrecting a dead, you know. So I wonder if that played in a little bit there as well.
Yeah.
There was a lot. Wait.
But this might have. I think that might have actually been this might have been pre her miscarriages. Like Frankenstein might have come before.
Yeah. So it could have been a premonition.
Could have been a premonition. You said you got some more.
Yeah, well, there's just a few I've made notes of. Was so the strange case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde was meant to come from a dream. Tintin in Tibet was meant to be linked to dreams.
Okay, interesting.
Twilight.
Twilight.
Oh yeah, Twilight. Oh, Twilight. Oh, like
Sorry, I didn't mean to naturally look at you there, but
no, it's like the stuff that like the analysis that like there's a whole like section of YouTube and TikTok and everything, and it's amazing. The analysis that are coming out from that, it's just basically like a Mormon self-insert fantasy, and it's amazing. It's like it's brilliant. So yes, ultimately a dream fantasy.
Paul McCartney claimed that he dreamed the melody to the song Yesterday in 1965.
oh, okay.
James
That
Cameron
happens,
with the Terminator.
I was going to say it wasn't Titanic. That actually happened.
No. Well, I think there are some dreams of people. Didn't people have dreams about the Titanic sinking? I think
they might have done, but they kept when you're shouting at everyone how your ship's unsinkable. Then I guess that would encourage dreams of it sinking. You know what I mean?
Yeah. James Cameron was suffering from a soaring fever in Rome, Italy, and then he was working on the final cut of Piranha 2, and he dreamed of a chrome skeleton emerging from a fire.
Wow.
Yeah. But then there's a few scientific things that came from dreams. So benzene, which was scientist Frederick August Kekule, I think that's how you say it, discovered the seemingly impossible chemical structure of benzene when he dreamed of a group of snakes swallowing their tails. And then there's the periodic table, which was Dmitri Mendeleev, who created the periodic table. He claimed to have envisioned the complete arrangement of the elements in a dream. While struggling to correctly orientate the elements, he recalls seeing them in a dream with a table with elements that fell into place as required. Awakening, he immediately wrote them down on a piece of paper, and only in one place did he correct it at a later date.
I've done that before. I did that for a little bit because I had a couple. Not
I invented a periodic table.
No, but as
impressive.
In, like, no, I wish. But like no, like woken up and like written like. But I need to write it down. But I stopped. It basically kind of like when you wake up in the middle of the night and you just want to go straight to bed. So I stopped doing that because I was like, no, I want to sleep.
And then the structure of the atom as well.
Yes, I've heard that
from
one.
A dream as well. That's all I've got on those.
But that makes a lot of sense in the sense that like if that's like the structure of an atom, for example, you're obviously a scientist, right? Like a physicist, and you're trying to figure that out. So your brain processes stuff that's going in the day. So if it's at the forefront of your mind, that's probably
I think your brain works on it.
Out, yeah.
I mean, a very recent example for me was I'd watched a bunch of videos on how to process horseshoe fungus to make amadou, and I spent an entire night dreaming about it and woke up and was like, I know how to do it now.
Those are words that you've said.
I'll explain to you what it all means later.
You said words, but that's all I know.
Made sense to me.
I'm happy for you. I'm sorry that happened. I don't know.
Yeah, I do have a few like personal dreams. We mentioned one recently, but I think it might have been on a bonus episode, so you'll have to buy Patreon to hear that one. The aliens.
I had a couple times. One time I made like a really convoluted book, and one like in my dream, and then I forgot the plot. And then one time I made it was either like a game or something like that was really significant, like instructions. Like I worked out like something and it could really help, like either an invention or a game or something. And I like resolved it in my dream, and I woke up and it was really like I couldn't remember it, and I like when I woke up and I felt it like slip away.
It's very frustrating, isn't it?
And I was so angry, and I was like, it's gone away forever.
I've had dreams like that where you sort of, you either solve a problem, or quite often for me it's stories.
Yeah.
Like something, I remember, funny enough, a fever dream. I got quite ill when I was like 16 with some feverish bug. And I remember tossing and turning, sweating, throwing up. But in sort of half asleep, half awake, I was having this dream. The essence of it was there was this like final battle between good and evil, and I had to fight in it because I was in purgatory essentially, so I didn't get to go either place. And it was just like this epic fantasy, and I thought it'd make probably a quite cheesy B film, but like I reckon people would read it or watch it. And but it just went, You
self-inserted yourself in Dante's Inferno 2.0.
Basically,
I'm
yes.
sorry.
But yeah, it was and just stuff like that. So it's I think overall, we can all agree that dreaming is your brain processing.
Yeah, the only other thing I was going to talk about, I didn't get time to look into much, was lucid dreaming.
I can't. It actually, like, I know people that can lucid dream can't do it, and it actually quite annoys me because it sounds quite
I
interesting.
had this dream, and it's quite weird because I was reading it on my notes by complete coincidence the other day, which is what reminded me of it.
Yeah.
And it was when Ocean was a baby. And so in reality, I'd fallen asleep on the sofa and she was sleeping here.
Yeah.
But in this dream, the radio at the bottom of the stairs was leaking water and I couldn't stop it.
The radio.
Radiator.
Oh, the radiator. Okay, yeah.
Need a translator, don't I?
In all fairness, you're doing this in your second language, so...
Third.
All right.
So yeah,
no one likes to show off.
So yeah, the radio was leaking water.
That's why I asked.
Radio blub blub.
True stupidity is assuming you know everything. Just
The
saying.
radiator was leaking water and I couldn't stop it. And then I suddenly realised I could hear Ocean's breathing in my ear.
Yeah.
And I was like, this is weird. And then it occurred to me that I must have been asleep. And then I realised I was in the living room and the door's like here.
Yeah.
And so I was going to go through the door, but for some reason I couldn't, like, it just didn't go through that door. And like, because I'm like, if I go around that corner, I'm asleep there.
Yeah.
And for some reason I wasn't able. I was just...
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Maybe that's astral projection. That's another episode, man.
Well, I tried to wake myself up by jumping off of a building.
Oh.
And every time I hit the ground...
Extreme.
Because when you fall over in a dream, you wake up.
Yeah.
And I knew I was dreaming, so I was like, well, I'll just, like, jump off a building.
I've heard if you fall over in a dream, you wake up dead.
That's lucid dreaming because you controlling the narrative of your dream.
But then,
That's what it
every
means.
time I hit the ground, it would just loop back to the top. So I was continuously
That's
falling.
lucid dreaming.
Right.
And eventually I woke up and Ocean was asleep.
I wish I could lucid dream. I know a couple people that can do it. And I was like, explain how you do it. It's like, well, just train yourself to control your dreams. I'm like, how do you do that?
Simple as that then, mate. Okay.
Apparently some people can do that and they can just be like,
What you do is you eat chili jam, with
soapy goat's cheese.
soapy goat's cheese, and applewood cheddar. And actually that combination makes you lucid dream.
No, but like the instructions that everyone that can lucid dream has given me are just more complicated. Just become self-aware and like control that. I'm like, all right. I feel like...
How do we know this isn't a dream now? Get off. So
Is this a like podcast inception moment?
yeah, that's it.
It's actually
Podcast in a dream.
You actually my podcast.
Or maybe you're asleep. Probably are by the end of this episode.
They've turned off already. Come on.
So no, we haven't got to weird news yet. Can't do that.
They've turned off already.
Yeah.
They stuck to the weird news and they've oh, there you go.
Mark's probably still watching.
Yeah, that's it.
Mark's hate watching.
Cracking his knuckles, ready to
I
write.
don't think cracking one off.
Maybe his comments is more about him than us. So yeah.
I might cut that, might not.
So we've come to lucid dreaming. I've done it twice.
Wait, really?
To come to a lucid dream.
It's my dream. It's lucid. I'll do what I want.
This is not a
I can see this
dream.
being your type of lucid dream.
Jesus.
You're actually snoring outside.
So I've
We're not even here. This
not
is your
even
dream.
never have been. You don't exist.
I probably don't exist, let's be honest.
So we've one of them was when I was quite young. I was getting chased by this bully at my primary school up this big hill. And it was like a bit of a mountain really. And I was scrabbling up this mountain in my playground, and then
Going to do the music. Ding, ding, ding.
Is that Bluey again?
halfway up this,
No.
halfway up this mountain,
Oh, okay.
I realised
You're gonna get copyright infringement.
That's why I'm pausing between bits.
so halfway up this mountain,
Doesn't hurt me.
I was I realised there's not a fucking mountain in my school. And so I was like, this must be a dream.
Must be a hill.
Must be a hill. I was running up that hill.
But were you running up the building?
Thanks for watching. And
He's
So-
been weird. And me?
of
Stay foxy.
never inviting, I don't know, one of you back. So I'm running up. I realise that it's a dream because there isn't a mountain in the school for some reason. And so literally I magicked a laser in my hand, shot the bully.
What? My dreams are shit. Like, what?
And then I was like, I'm going to fly. And I started to fly and then I woke up. It seems once you get to flight, that seems to be it for me. Like once you try and fly, your brain's like, nah, you can't do that, mate. Wake up. The other one, I'm surprised you didn't try and fly. You were like, no, I'm just going to kill myself off this building to wake up.
It wasn't kill myself. It was that when you fall over in a dream, you wake up.
Existence is a loop, so I'm just going to keep doing this.
Yeah.
Groundhog. Did you wake up again Groundhog Day style, at the top?
I don't think I ever woke up. I still think I'm dreaming.
I think you might be.
Could be in a coma.
Go fall over. The other one was, I was in this, it was kind of like this horror-esque one when I was older, and I was being, again, chased by this sort of entity I never really saw, but I knew it was some kind of evil around this, it was like an abandoned activity centre sort of place.
Was it Mark?
Yeah, probably. And I remember going to these steps outside, and this thing caught me. And for some reason, I had my reenactment, sort of like my Viking sword with me. And then I sort of thrust it at him and then thought, shit, it's blunt, isn't it? And then I thought, I should have my long sword, that's sharp. And all of a sudden, I was like, oh yeah, got my long sword now.
That's mad.
Drove it through him, pinned him into the floor. I was like, yeah, fuck yeah. And then I wandered around for a bit and I was like, it's a dream, innit? Yeah,
Okay.
It's a dream, and I woke up again.
So God has favourite people and they can lucid dream. That's what I'm hearing, basically.
Yeah, he loves us.
Don't hate the player.
Actually, we had visions to create a podcast together.
Yeah,
Did you really?
we did.
Was it just,
We
hey,
both, we both
that could
woke
be
up
fun.
in cold sweats.
I've had dreams about poltergeist activity as well,
Really?
and I've never been scared of it. I've always been like, this is really interesting.
And you want to do a Ouija board and do a seance. That is...
I had a dream once where I was being pulled up the stairs by an invisible force.
That seems not a smart choice for you
And I
to
was
do.
like, this is really bizarre. I'm being dragged up the stairs by an invisible
Well,
force.
one of our listeners, he happens to,
We've got listeners.
yeah, is one that
Big
happens
news,
to
everybody.
It's
you
Andy.
know, start rumours about us on our YouTube channel, on our comment
You have
section.
your first hater. That's kind of a big deal.
He
It's a plant though, so not really.
he had a lucid dream as well when he was growing up.
We don't talk about him on the podcast.
Okay, this unnamed person. He was going. He used to go over to his grandmother's house, and she was quite ill at the time. And apparently, all the upstairs was like closed off and dark. She'd moved downstairs, so she didn't have to move around as
That's
much.
what's really creepy when you go to like your
Yeah,
grandparents' house and it's like they're getting frail, so it's like half of it's like semi like
Yeah.
not abandoned, but clearly the rooms aren't used. Like it's like a weird crawly thing.
this guy sort of was really into the Dracula Lives comics back then.
Okay, yeah.
And he had this reoccurring nightmare where there were these like horrible sort of Nosferatu-esque vampires up the top, like trying to drag him up into the shadows. And then apparently one day he just remembered in the dream that he kept having this dream, and so he thought, fuck this, and turned himself into a massive werewolf, because as we know from Dracula Lives comics, the only thing that can beat a vampire that's not a vampire hunter's a werewolf. And so he turns himself into a big werewolf and rips the vampires apart and then wakes up.
I think that's werewolf propaganda. I feel like it should be the other way around. Not gonna lie.
Werewolves are much cooler than vampires. So it's time for weird news. What you got for us, Craig?
Not a lot.
No?
No mobile reception. I've got a headline.
Proof that we look it up literally 2 minutes before we do it.
Not at all. I lost my notes. But my headline was, the woman wheeled dead man into bank and tried to get him to take out a £2,000 loan.
Okay, that's...
Yeah, I don't have the story, I'm afraid, but it's...
Like actually like in an actual wheelbarrow.
I kind of see it as like a wheelchair sort of
Wheelbarrow.
wheelbarrow, just stink lines and flies and everything, like the tongue lolling out.
That's what I was thinking in my head. That's why I was like, why did you think it would work? That's why I was saying that.
I'm thinking it's, a Weekend at Bernie's type affair.
Okay, that makes a lot more sense, I think.
Yeah, I think they have CCTV footage of her, like, doing stuff.
He's just sleeping.
Sunglasses on, like,
Yes,
thumbs up.
it is.
I want all of my money. Got the gear.
Put a COVID mask and it's fine. Like.
Yeah, that's it.
I have a feeling it's not the only one that's been in the news like that lately. I think
No, come on.
a couple of women in America, maybe a month ago, were reported to have taken a guy they lived with to the bank to try and draw out his savings. And yeah, they did a similar thing where he'd just died and they wheeled him in and been like, yeah, he wants to draw out his savings very
Oh my
quickly.
God.
So
That's never gonna work. I don't know. It's people are stupid. That's what we know. But that's crazy.
yeah, so yeah, that's all I got. I'm afraid my notes are missing.
No worries. Well, we have some. I do have headlines up. Didn't do the notes on them because I work here, so I managed to just go and get them up at the office.
So your headline is a Loch Ness monster.
Do you want this one?
Yeah,
Or-
I can speak about the other one.
Up to you.
So the other one is about NASA.
Go on, just take that. There you go.
It's okay. So Andy's one is
No, this is Becky's one.
Becky's one that she researched really hard, but I'm the ghostwriter for your show, so you know.
That's not a boast.
Spoiler.
That's a diss. Yeah, so it
That's
says
really weird because at least half the episodes I've written, so I didn't know you were writing for me.
She was astral projecting into your brain.
the true meaning of ghostwriting. Loch Ness Monster. NASA urged to help as new search begins. And Andy said this wasn't weird news, but I was like, I don't think this is weird news, even though it's on Sky News, because any person and any organisation can petition NASA's help. The weird news would have been had NASA been, NASA agrees to help
Or
Loch
NASA
Ness Monster
confirms.
Association.
NASA confirms Loch Ness monster.
That would have been weird
not even,
news.
Not even, or like NASA agrees to work with Loch Ness
But
Monster Association to discover new evidence.
but
That would be weird as hell.
But any loon can like wheel a dead person into a bank and demand money. You know.
Yeah,
what makes weird news?
I guess the response.
Well, we're waiting for the response. Anyway, read your article.
A new search will place. Wait, what? A new search will place on the 19th anniversary of A new search will place on the 19th anniversary of Sir Edward's Mountains expedition from 30th of May to 2nd of June. So the subheading makes it sound like they are taking part in the search, but they're not. Okay, so they planned one and they've invited NASA to take part in it. And NASA have not responded. And they've said, we would like NASA to respond and we want this to get traction for social media. So basically they have to like acknowledge it.
Yeah, because they did a news search recently, didn't they? It was like last year. We talked about it on another episode where they, I think so.
I love the quote. The
We've talked about Nettie a fair bit, to be fair.
There's a bit of hopefulness in this quote. We have gone to UK universities. We are hoping that experts from NASA might have some advanced imaging technology to scan the loch. We would have to sit down and talk to them about how to get it.
Wow, that's the end of that weird story then, isn't it?
The optimism is real.
Maybe.
I
Who
mean,
knows?
I'm related. I think I've seen the Loch Ness Monster as a kid, but you know, that's another...
Oh, all right. No, we're going to do a Nessie episode at some point. Hold on to that.
From Scotland.
Yeah,
I was in Scotland. I wasn't just astral projecting.
No,
to the
we're going to send one of our reporters on the ground to Scotland, to Loch Ness, we're thinking.
Nice.
In height of mid-season as well, apparently.
Excellent.
What's the last one?
So, my one is escaped racehorse joins commuters at train station and stands behind yellow line.
Yeah, I saw that. He looked quite distressed.
It did look quite distressed.
Yeah. He's
It's
wearing a
I mean,
little
it's going to be pretty weird if you're there and see this fucking horse just...
Oh, okay. So,
I'm telling this story,
no,
not
I'm just
you.
saying the description of the video.
I know, I'm doing it,
It's wearing a little coat, so it's like people clothes.
Let me finish.
I don't know that was a thing.
The local transport authority saw the funny side of the incident and notified locals about a missing individual wearing only a rug and demonstrating a bit of horseplay.
Oh, that makes sense.
It would have done, yes.
No, when you explained it earlier, I thought there was just a random guy wearing a rug.
No one ever listens to me. Commuters at a train station in Australia were left doing a double take after an escaped racehorse joined them to wait for the passenger service. The rogue animal turned up at Warwick Farm Station in New South Wales and trotted down the platform before pausing ahead of the train's arrival when it even stood behind the yellow line, probably because it didn't want to get hit by a train.
Or maybe it has manners.
Maybe. Footage shared by Transport for New South Wales shows a shocked commuters stepping back as the horse made its way past just before midnight on the 5th of April. The Transport Authority saw the funny side as they shared an update about the incident on Facebook. He appeared to pursue an informant along the platform before unsuccessfully attempting to board a train service, they continued.
Was he too big for the train?
I imagine so.
Aww.
The individual then moved to the car park area, was taken in by his owner, and he was returned to his residence in stable condition. Brilliant.
That's like, you know how like Florida Man headlines are like, yeah, that definitely happened in Florida. That's like an Australia story,
we have a guest
isn't
today,
it? Like,
Andy.
Oh shit, we do, don't we? Yes.
what?
Last bit of the section, we need to find your Florida Man story.
Oh, I feel like you've published this one before.
No, we haven't. You haven't been on this podcast before.
Oh, mine's really boring. Like the one on my birthday, it was just like this guy.
Oh, whoa.
I don't remember
You're
it.
not.
He's trashing the show.
You are. Right, let's start that again. Now, at this point, we do Florida Man with our
Good job
guests.
you remembered.
I'm not
What?
really a guest, really. I'm more of an
Florida Man,
interloper.
oh yeah. Interlopers, guest, whatever. We'll do Florida Man with anyone. So, just proving that I know your
Cut
birthday.
that clip out. And he does Florida Man
So
with anyone.
you got it for the 20th of February, right?
Shut up. The 10th of January.
That's when I was
Florida.
born.
What
So,
year?
would you like your Florida
year?
Man? What's that? What year? 1996.
Yeah, I know.
Florida Man or Florida Woman?
Can I get
we'll go.
both?
So, your Florida Man story. Florida man arrested for throwing pizza at father after finding out his dad helped birth him.
Oh, yeah, underwhelming.
Yeah, it's
It's underwhelming.
So, a Florida man was arrested on Thursday after he threw a pizza at his father because he was mad that his dad helped birth him, deputies said. When deputies arrived at home in Holiday, the place is called Holiday, Robert Houston, 33, put his hands behind his back saying he knew deputies were going to take him to jail. When deputy asked why he thought he would be taken to jail, he told them he threw pizza at his dad's face because he was mad that his dad helped give birth to him. That is a bit of a weird one,
Wait,
really.
as in like actually helping the delivery, right? Not just being part of like.
Yeah, I'm guessing so. It doesn't really say much more than that.
See, underwhelming.
Your Florida woman story, though. Florida woman breaks into police station, eats officers' chicken and asparagus, gets arrested after leaving ID behind.
It's based.
Police have arrested a woman in Florida after she broke into a police station, stole food from an officer, and then
You
left her
said all
wallet
that.
behind. You know what all these articles are like.
Is it Bored Panda?
Jim Pierre, 29, is believed to have smashed a window to enter the police station in the early hours of January the 3rd, according to a report by Boynton Police Department,
Wait,
Beach Police
January
Department.
the 3rd? That's not.
Yeah, but the news
Oh,
article
the
was
news.
published on the
A whole
10th.
7 days after.
She then took 2 ready-made chicken and asparagus meals from the fridge and heated one of the meals in the microwave. One of the meals appears to have been consumed inside the kitchen in the area as the asparagus was left on the counter next to the microwave. Apparently didn't want that.
Yeah, well, asparagus isn't fun.
Makes your pee smell funny. The police report stated then she left the premises. The officers found the window on the south side of the building leading to the kitchen area had been broken. They believe she stood on 2 recycling bins in order to access the opening. They later confirmed that his name was Agent Andrew Bourbon, later arrived at the police station and confirmed that the meals were his, and he had paid $7 for each. I don't know why that's relevant to the story, but it is.
I don't know why you're still reading. I thought we'd just do that.
I told you they were really underwhelming.
I don't think this one's underwhelming.
But I thought the Florida woman stories had to be day, month.
No,
and
it's
year.
just what comes up on Google.
Yeah, oh, okay. Because I think I did it one time. I looked it up and it was like day, month, year, and it was really underwhelming.
You're killing the Florida man vibe.
No, I just people get really fun ones, and I'm always stuck with like really boring ones.
That's not a boring one.
The woman had the munchies.
She broke into a police station and ate this cob's asparagus
Munchies can
And
hit
left
really
her
hard.
ID.
and left her ID behind. That's not a boring
Crazy.
one. But
Maybe she left someone else's ID.
I mean,
behind.
occasionally they'll be like, Florida man throws a crocodile at a
Yeah.
deputy while being chased on a golf cart or something. But
What
you
if
know,
it's a conspiracy and she left like someone else's ID there?
maybe there's a.
That's the real story.
That's
what people aren't
We've
saying.
solved Florida woman.
But we say it here in Wyrd.
On that note,
Thanks for listening, and until next time, stay weird.
and me.
And me.